What is up, my brothers and sisters, my agents of respect? It's your boy TreJuanJohnson back with another episode of the No Disrespect But podcast. Before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Always feel free to comment. Just please keep those comments respectful. And if you're interested in supporting your favorite podcast, yours truly, my Cash App will be in the episode description. So, promise y'all, we were going to get a quick um, NBA prediction. I did the predictions for the play-in, and I believe I was right. I had the Heat winning their play-in in the East, and I had the Grizzlies winning their play-in for the final spot in the West. So we're there. We have all 16 teams set, and look, we just about to go through, each series one by one, starting in the Western Conference, then the Eastern Conference, then ultimately the NBA Finals. And look, what I'm about to do and the predictions I'm about to make are going to be seen as blasphemous. Y'all gonna want to take my basketball card. You're gonna be like, ain't no way this dude got like no, his basketball IQ is gone. It's shot because there's gonna be a lot of upsets. There's gonna be some surprises. And I just think that, this might be the most parity the league has had in quite a while. And we can maybe position ourselves and cushion ourselves to accept that there might be some upsets. Um, but look, I don't know. Like, it's hard to dictate some of these matchups. I can get all of these wrong, but I was just going through it, had a few scribbles here and there, and I was just like, oh, like what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Type of thing. Like not really understanding like, oh, like this doesn't make sense, but it also makes sense to me. Just kind of what I'm thinking could happen in the playoffs. Now, of course, can account for injuries and things like that. Like last year, y'all know the Knicks were my darlings. I had them going to the finals. I was gonna be sitting next to Stephen A. Smith courtside at the Madison Square Garden, and they just had an avalanche of injuries, which tends to happen in the Tom Thibodeau run team. But I don't know. We'll see. Like we know the injury luck the Golden State Warriors have had over the years. Um, we know Kawhi Leonard hasn't been able to finish a playoff series since I don't know what the bubble it felt like. So who knows what's going to happen? I'm not accounting for any types of injuries or anything like that because, of course, if that happens, that would drastically change things. Just like last year, I think drastically changed things with Giannis being out for the playoffs, and Damian Lillard ended up getting hurt in that series against the Pacers. Brunson ended up getting hurt against the Pacers, and the Pacers were able to capitalize on that and make it to the conference finals. So who knows what's going to happen right now? I think Jaylen Brown's dealing with the injury, so we don't know how he's going to come back. So there are so many things that we have to account for, and I'm just going to just go with what I think. It has nothing to do with just pure basketball knowledge. This is just my gut feeling of who's going to win these series. So starting out in the Western Conference, your matchups are number one seed Oklahoma City Thunder versus 8 seed Memphis, who just secured a spot last night. 2 seed Houston versus 7 seed Golden State. 3 seed Lakers versus 6 seed Timberwolves, and 4 seed Denver versus the Clippers. Um, and so I want to start there. For me, I think people are sleeping on Oklahoma City because they're such a young team. But excuse me, in back-to-back years, they are one of the top seeds or the top seed in the conference, and I think we got to start giving them a little bit of their respect, okay? And they arguably have the MVP of the NBA in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Chet is healthy now. Hardenstein has been really big for them. You've seen J Dub. Yeah, J Dub is that one, I think. Um, you've seen him coming to his own, making an All-Star game this year. A really well-coached team, and they hang their head on the defensive end, obviously led by Lou Dort in that regard. But you know, you got Chet and Hartenstein that can help protect the rim. J-Dub has stepped up his defense. Even SGA knowing how to utilize his length to bother opposing guards and things like that, and go in and help on the boards and get the offense started. And they have a really underrated bench. And those guys that come in and play and not only score but defend well. And obviously Caruso is a big part of that. And you're hoping when he hasn't had the best season since coming over in the trade, but this is the playoff time. That's when players like him really shine in their roles, and that can be really good for OKC. Now Memphis is no slouch. They're coming in as the number one scoring offense in the league. And honestly, if Taylor Jenkins was still the coach, I would feel more confident picking them. I do think it's going to be a good series. I know Ja's a handful in his own right, but is he going to be able to stay out of foul trouble? That's going to be something that we look to see. Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. He's regarded as a top defender in this league as well, and so will he be able to help protect that rim when Shai gets to the rim? I think with obviously Zach E is going to have to be really important with his size and being able to bother shots in the paint, but they're going to have to stay out of foul trouble, in my opinion, and that's going to be hard to do against SGA, who just kind of knows how to slither his way to the foul line at times. But they're going to have every opportunity, and I can see Memphis winning this series, but they're playing without a coach, and I don't know while they're the number one scoring offense. I don't know if they have all of the firepower necessary to win this series. And I don't know if they have all of the defenders to be able to stop what OKC can kind of beat you with game in and game out. And so I think it's going to be a really good series, but I have OKC pulling it out in 7. Now we go to Houston versus Golden State. And while Golden State is the 7th seed, they're actually favored to win this series. A lot of it being because of their veteran presence, obviously 4-time champion Steph Curry and Draymond Green, but you also bring in Jimmy Butler, who's been to 2 NBA finals, helping lead the Miami Heat during his tenure there. Also has a lot of playoff experience from his time in Minnesota and Chicago, playing with Pau Gasol and Derrick Rose and those guys. So he comes in with a seasoned vet, a guy who's proven to be someone that can lead a team to the NBA Finals, and you pairing that with Steph Curry, who's one of the best players in the world and one of the best players of all time. Of course, you're going to want to take that into account, especially with Steve Kerr, who's arguably one of the best coaches, not necessarily in my opinion, but the resume is the resume, and you can't really argue against that. But Houston, led by the corporate pimp, former Spur, Ime Udoka, my guy, and they've been a really good team. They have levels. I mean, you can't just say one person is going to beat you. It could be Van Fleet. It could be, Van Vliet. Sorry, it can be Jalen Green. It can be Alperen Sengun. I think is how you pronounce it. I know Sengun, but I don't know how to. Hopefully I didn't butcher the first name, but and people say, more times than not, your best player can't be your center, especially in the playoffs. But what Sengun can do, especially as a passer, was one of the reasons why when he was coming out, I wanted the Spurs to take a shot on him because of what he could do, as a passer and a low post scorer, and he's going to be really big for them. Now, again, Golden State, especially in the playoffs, they're allowed to be a little bit more physical than most teams. We've seen that over the years, and so we'll see how Sengun is defended in the paint. Also, we'll have to see how he plays when Golden State goes to that inevitable small ball lineup. How is he going to be able to move defensively? And look, I'm familiar with Ime. He was a defensive stopper for the Spurs, and so he hangs his hat on defense. You're going to have to be able to do that, and we've seen in stretches that Houston has been able to step up defensively. Having one of the twins, I believe, Amin is with the Rockets. So, and he's been having a hell of a year in ascending to that level year 2, and you're hoping year 3 he takes that next step, becomes a really key cog in what the Houston Rockets are building. And so they had a fantastic season. And again, much like Memphis can beat OKC, I think Houston could beat Golden State. They are the 2 seed for a reason, but I'm going to be one of those people that believe that Golden State and just their veteran presence and having a bunch of guys that have been here before and their young guys are starting to play well, to just have a little bit more, and they'll win in six. I got Golden State in six in this series. Then we got Lakers and T-Wolves. Um, LeBron James, of course, one of the best players of all time. Luka Doncic, one of the best players in the world right now. They're going to be coming in. Obviously, first year head coach JJ Redick leading them to the 3 seed is incredible, and they've had a remarkable year. I mean, obviously, you have a blockbuster trade that nobody was expecting to land you a top 5 player in the world in Luka Doncic. Um, and you're going up against a hungry T-Wolves team that's led by Ant-Man. A lot of people are counting them out. Obviously, they haven't had the best year after trading Karl Anthony Towns in the offseason. They got Julius Randle, and he was doing okay, but then he got hurt, missed the stretch, and now he's back. But, they still got Naz Reid. They still got Gobert being that defensive presence that he is. And it's going to be a good series. And normally I would pick the Lakers. I think the easy thing is to pick the Lakers. They have LeBron James. They have Luka. They're the top seed, right? They're going to have the home court advantage. But here's the thing that's different about this Lakers team. And bear with me. If this was the Lakers team sans Luka and they still had AD, I'd pick the Lakers in a heartbeat. I'd almost pick them in maybe 5 or 6 games because as good or as highly built as Rudy is as a defender, right? He struggles sometimes against some of these legit offensive postmen. The Lakers don't have that. Since AD's gone, they didn't really address the center position, and they don't really have anybody that can take Rudy Gobert out of the paint. And even if they went small ball and put LeBron at the 5 and put Rudy at the 5, they're going to live with those guys shooting threes. Like they just are. So they don't have anybody that can really attack the paint at the big position. Of course, LeBron's going to put a lot of pressure on the rim. Luka's going to put a lot of pressure on the rim. And that's going to be on the guards, right, to hold their own and not reach and not get in foul trouble and allow Rudy to do what he does. And from a bench perspective, when Naz Reid comes in the game, he's probably going to be one of the better players on the court. And so if he can stack up from his 6-man a year last year, if he can do that again in these playoffs, I can see them doing some big things. And of course, you got Ant-Man, and he's going to give it to you on the other end as well. Offensively, he's probably the best offensive player in this series. Finished the year leading in 3-point field goals made. We know he can attack the rim and put a lot of pressure. And again, the Lakers don't have a big. The Lakers don't have a big that makes you say, you know what, I'm not going to go down there. And so I think you're going to see the Timberwolves put a lot of pressure on the rim. I think you're going to have to see the Lakers go to a lot of small ball lineups. And Rudy Gobert, he's not the best offensive guy, but he knows at the very least he can attack a small ball lineup being aggressive on the boards. Like he's not going to post up. Like you can put Austin Reeves on him. He's not going to post up and know what to do when he gets the ball. But he's going to allow you, he's going to, and all these other guys attack the rim, and then I'll come and crash the boards and either get an easy dunk or throw it out to extend the possession. So that's going to be neat to see because the Lakers are going to have to inevitably go small ball. And can Rudy Gobert stay on the court in those situations, or will they be forced to take him out? Because this is the thing. Last year, you could do that because you had Karl Anthony Towns, who's still 7 feet tall, who can stretch the floor so it makes you better offensively, and you could play him and Naz Reid together. And now you're having a lineup, right, where Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert are starting, and they aren't, they aren't consistent floor stretchers. More so Julius Randle than Rudy Gobert because he's not going to stretch the floor at all. So that's going to be interesting. Everybody's counting the T-Wolves out. They don't expect them to win this series, but I do. I got the Timberwolves in 6. And then the 4-5 matchup, you got Denver versus the Clippers. Look, I went with Denver in 7 here. I think, of course, they're missing Mike Malone, who got fired before the end of the year, which is kind of stupid in my opinion, but it is what it is. The Clippers have a really good team. Obviously led by Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, They're led by head coach Ty Lue, who's been in these positions before. And I would say he has the advantage in this matchup. Not to mention they have Bogey. They got him in the trade with Atlanta. You still got Nolan Powell, who could very well be the sixth man of the year this year. I'd argue he should have been an all-star this year. So Clippers have a really good team. But here's where I'm nervous. We talked about injuries, right? I can't trust that Kawhi Leonard is going to finish this series. He hasn't finished the series in I don't know how long. I can't trust that. And if I can't trust that, I can't trust the Clippers to be able to overcome that because they haven't necessarily been able to do that. They had a run with Paul George, and I think they got to the Western Conference Finals, but you need that guy. And we know what Kawhi Leonard can do in the playoffs. And if he's healthy, I could very well see the Clippers winning this series. But I can't trust that. And because I can't trust that, I'm going to go with Denver. I'm going to go with Nikola Jokic, who I don't think Clippers have anybody that can stop him. And God forbid Zubac gets in foul trouble. That's their ass. It's like you don't have anybody with the size and strength that can contend with Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray, he rises in the playoffs. I think you're going to see a new Russell Westbrook in these playoffs as well. I think he's going to make key plays for them down the stretch. But I'm going with Denver in this series to win in 7. And that takes me to the Western Conference semis. We have OKC versus Denver. And it took me OKC versus Denver and T-Wolves versus Golden State. It took me a lot not to pick Denver. I really wanted to pick Denver because I think they have a really good player, probably the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray, a playoff riser. The emotional ties with OKC for Russell Westbrook. But Mike Malone's not here. And coaching matters. Coaching matters in these playoffs. And I don't know if an interim coach can beat the top seed. Like I don't know. I'm not comfortable doing that. And so I went with OKC in 7. But I can see Denver winning the series, okay? But I went with OKC in 7. T-Wolves versus Golden State. I went with the T-Wolves in 7. I just think they're a really good matchup for Golden State. Again, they have size that Golden State doesn't necessarily have, and consistent size that can help defend the rim, but they can also go small ball with Naz Reid, and he can still play big and defend at a high level. So I just think Ant-Man's on a mission, and I think he gets them a berth in the Western Conference Finals. And so I'm going to go with T-Wolves in 7 here over Golden State. Western Conference Finals, OKC versus Minnesota Timberwolves. I went with OKC in 6. Second year in a row, they're the top seed. I think at some point it has to pay off. You're about to have arguably the MVP of this league. You went and got the players to help win. In Hartenstein and Caruso, those are two guys, two big acquisitions you went out and got. The guys you already had played well and developed well, and we know the window is so small because at some point you're going to have to start paying some of these guys, right? Like Chet's going to have to be up for a payday. J Dub's going to have to be up for a payday. I think Caruso is going to have to be up for a payday soon, and some of these other guys. So it's coming up. The bill is going to have to be paid, and you have to capitalize on this. And I think OKC capitalizes on this window and makes it to their first NBA Finals in what? That would be 13 years, I think. Yeah, 2012 NBA Finals was the, last time with KD, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka. Yeah, that's been a long time coming for that team, for this franchise, for that city. And I think they capitalize and they get to the NBA Finals. Okay. So as you know, so keep in mind, I have Oklahoma City in the NBA Finals this year. They are the 1 seed for a reason. I think that pays off. Now let's go to the Eastern Conference. 1 seed, Cavs versus 8 seed Heat. 2 seed, Boston versus 7 seed Magic. 3 seed, New York Knicks versus 6 seed Detroit Pistons. 4 seed, Indiana Pacers versus 5 seed Milwaukee Bucks. You guys know I wanted to pick the Heat in this. I think active coaches, and I guess you can't count Coach Pop as active, so we're not counting Coach Pop as active. And even if we were, I would argue that Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the league. I know they're perennial play-in contenders, and I think a lot of that is based on the personnel that Pat Riley believes is okay, and he doesn't do enough to acquire talent for Miami. But what Eric Spoelstra is able to do year in and year out, getting that team into the playoffs, getting them in position to advance in the playoffs, even when they're the underdog, and not the high seed, somewhere between 7 and 8, whatever it may be, those guys are always going to scrap. And the Cavs, to me, led by Donovan Mitchell, led by Darius Garland, um, Mobley is growing into his own. Um, have a really good team. They traded for a Danielle Hunter. I think I said that right. But Hunter, that was with the Hawks. If they traded for him, they have a really good team. They're the 1 seed for a reason. And I almost wanted to pick against them because I don't trust them. I don't trust Donovan Mitchell led teams. I mean, Darius Garland has been, hit or miss in the postseason. What am I going to get out of my bigs? You know, is Evan Mobley going to, take that next step? How is Jerry Allen going to be doing? Are we going to stay healthy? So I could easily have picked the Heat in this series, but there might be something a little bit different, just a little different about this year's Cavs team. And so I went with them to win in 7. I think it's going to go to 7 games. I got Cavs in 7. Boston Magic. Magic are a really great defensive team. They have the size to give Boston a few fits. Um, Need to grow offensively. Paolo obviously is their driving force offensively. They're going to need a big matchup or big performances from Franz Wagner as well. They're going to need some of those veterans to start earning their pay. Gary Harrison, um, KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Like, you were a big acquisition for them for this time of year. You're going to have to step up. Going to need Wendell Carter to step up in the paint because he's going to have his hands full, not just with Al Horford, but Kristaps Porzingis and things like that. And then that bench is going to have to step up when Boston bench comes into tow. And Boston has a really good team. Obviously, Jaylen Brown's dealing with some injury, and we don't know how he's going to come. I believe he's supposed to be ready for this series. But they're just a really good team. But I do think it's going to be a really good series because I think there are things that the Magic do well that will give the Boston some problems. But I think Boston is just a better team, a better coach team as well. They have the better players, and so I got Boston in 7. So I got 2 7-game series. And the Eastern Conference typically gives you some really good series anyway, for the most part. But also wouldn't surprise me if Boston just sweeps them because Boston has just been on a tear this year. Then the 3 seed versus 6 seed, New York Knicks versus Detroit. I actually have New York in 5. Look, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, they went and got Karl-Anthony Towns to give them a scoring punch. They got my boy Mikal Bridges as well in the trade. A guy who's going to help on defense as well as offense. They still have OG Anunoby. They're a really good team, and I think they have a little more firepower than they had last year. And so I think it's going to bode well for them. Detroit, happy to see them in the postseason. The league is in a good place when Detroit is back in postseason basketball, and this isn't going to be a one year wonder. They're going to start being here consistently for years to come. Led by Cade Cunningham, one hell of a player, probably going to win Most Improved, even though I don't think a former #1 overall pick should ever win that award. Like, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and we see him kind of coming into his prime. I think he's going to probably be the best player in this series, but I just don't believe that Detroit has enough right now. I think the Knicks just kind of breeze past them a little bit. And then 4 seed Pacers versus 5 seed Bucks. I'm going Bucks. I know Dame Lillard might miss the first couple games with the blood clot, the deep vein thrombosis, but he's recovered well, like very well. And I think Giannis, if he stays healthy, I just don't think the Pacers have anybody that can stop him. I think he wants a little bit of get back. He was not able to play in this series, got injured. And so I think he wants some get back. I think he wants to remind people that he's one of the best players in the world. And I think he does that. And I got the Bucks winning this series in 6. I think the Pacers just had a lot of luck last year. They're a good team, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going to give me. I can't tell you one way or another what they're going to give me. And I feel more comfortable going with the Bucks. I'm going with Bucks in 6. So now we get to the semis, right? Cavs versus Bucks. Kind of similar with their situation with the Pacers. I trust the Milwaukee Bucks. Even if Doc Quivers is their head coach, I trust the Milwaukee Bucks more than I trust the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, here's the thing. A lot can change. Like if the Bucks lose to the Pacers or they go to the second round and they lose to the Cavs, there's going to be a lot of speculation about what to do with Giannis and Damian Lillard and Doc Rivers and what is that team going to be moving forward. And I think they hear the noise. I think they want to show that they can be back in this title picture. I think Doc Rivers, as a head coach, wants to show that, hey, I've won a championship in this league. I am one of those guys. So I think Bucks handle Cavs in 6. Boston versus Knicks. Now, this is where it gets spicy. You guys know that I had this as my Eastern Conference Finals last year. I had the Knicks beating Boston last year to go to the NBA Finals, and that Stephen A. Smith and myself will be sitting courtside. I will be sitting next to Stephen A. Smith. He was going to fly me out in New York because I picked his New York Knicks. Well, guess what? I had this as the Eastern Conference matchup last year. It's not my Eastern Conference semis matchup last year or this year. I had the Knicks winning last year in 6. And guess what? God damn it. I got the Knicks winning in 6 this year. New York, stand up. I think they have a hell of a roster. They've made acquisitions to help like their acquisitions this year. Even though they didn't play the Knicks, even though they didn't play Boston last year, the acquisitions last year were of the mindset of we will see Boston again, and we need to have the roster and the personnel to defend them. They go get a wing and Mikal Bridges. That's your guy that you put on Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. And him and Josh Hart are going to be taking turns doing that. You go get you a Karl Anthony Towns that not only defensively has the size to keep up with the Kristaps Porzingis and the Al Horfords. Oh, guess what? My big can actually be a scoring threat. I didn't have that last year. No disrespect to Isaiah Hartenstein, but he ain't no damn Karl Anthony Towns, especially offensively. So now you can't gang up on a Jalen Brunson. I think that's one of the reasons why he got hurt last year, playing so many minutes and so much of the offensive load being placed on his shoulders. You bring Karl Anthony Towns in to take that away. And Karl had a fantastic year. He was all-star this year. A godsend for the New York Knicks. It's time for the chickens to come home to roost. They have made their offseason decisions for this moment to beat this team. And God, they will do it. Knicks in 6. And it will be the Knicks versus the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. And God damn it, I got the Knicks winning the Eastern Conference Finals to face the Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA Finals. Knicks Thunder, 1 seed in the West versus 3 seed in the East. And you know, we always talk about the West is the best, and you know, maybe Boston got lucky because they had to play a 5 seed in Luka Doncic, who was on in the Mavs. Who Luka was on one leg. Kyrie was a little bit older and drained and all that stuff. But hey, I think the East wins it for a second year in a row. I'm going New York Knicks in 6. You heard it right here. You heard it right here. Your boy has picked the New York Knicks to win this year's NBA Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I will say this, I think regardless, I think the team that wins the Eastern Conference Finals will win the NBA Finals. More than likely it's going to be Boston, but this is my prediction. I'm going with the New York Knicks. And Stephen A. Smith, we're going to make sure you get this episode because when that happens, game 3, I don't want game 4 because look, game 3, a lot of things can go wrong. In game 3, the first NBA Finals game in Madison Square Garden since my Spurs rolled up in there in the 1999 NBA Finals. That's over a quarter century since the New York Knicks organization has hosted an NBA Finals home game. You and I are gonna be courtside, and I'm gonna be on the Stephen A. Smith show later that day. Hell, you know what? Bring me on the ESPN set. I believe like you believe. There's no reason to believe. Like there's no reason. There's no basketball reason. There's no basketball knowledge that I can drop to say that this is why I'm going with the New York Knicks versus everybody else. It's just my feeling. It's in my heart. And if Jalen Brunson didn't get hurt last year, damn it, I felt like they would have run the table anyway. And now they add a Carl Anthony Towns, they add a Mikal Bridges. It's time. Like this is the roster that has to step up and get it done for the New York Knicks. Like they have to. Jalen Brunson took a pay cut for this to materialize. At some point, if you don't capitalize on these moments, the opportunity's gonna pass you by. You won't really have this chance again. New York Knicks in 6, NBA champions or world champions. Sorry, Noah Lyles. Anyways, that's what I got. That's who I'm ripping for this playoff one, New York Knicks. And next year, y'all already know I'm repping my like this has to be the last year that the San Antonio Spurs aren't in the playoffs. This has to be the last year that's happened. Like it's been too long. It's about to be going on a decade. Well, not a decade because we made it in 2019, but it feels too long. But it's gonna be about a decade since we actually had a chance to win a title. I'm put it that way. I need it. And um, before we end, just thoughts and prayers with the Popovich family. Um, Coach Pop, man, you know I love you, shit. Um, and health is wealth. Health first over everything. Of course, all the fans want you back, want you on the bench coaching our team. But look, man, if this is the end, damn it, it was one hell of a ride. But just wishing him uh, health and wellness, and that he just gets back to him. He doesn't even have to coach again, but be back to him and be what he needs to be for his family. So we're praying for you, Coach Pop. Hope everything goes well. We love you and we miss you. But as I end the show, look, if there's anything I said that offended anyone, look, it's a good thing, right? It's an opportunity for me to learn, and it's an opportunity for you to teach me. All I ask is that you keep it respectful. Peace.